And then we had this animal abstraction assignment where we took an animal. I took this one itself. So we made a paper abstract form, a 3D paper craft. And this was like we had this plain faces, but still it was a little more abstracted from the original animal or the original picture. So that was the first form of abstraction where we had like around 90% of the real form intact, and the we changed we reduce like we changed 10% to abstract. And then 3D animal with ivory sheets which has volume was made, but out of plain faces. uh, yeah, so the next part was we had to make it with complete planes, so that was the constraint we had. And we started sketching. So my explorations were like the emotion I had to bring from the assignment, the swan, was that elegance or gracefulness of the swan. So I started sketching the curves of the neck, the part which I gave importance to, which is the elegant neck, the curves and all. So we sketched it and we had a very rough model. So that was this model. And it was actually, it can be understood that it's a swan, but I just took the outline of the swan and I made the prototype, the small one, the rough one. After that, yeah, we thought that we have to bring in the movement to the model. So what we did is that we cut this part into two halves so that the neck part comes first and the body part comes the next. So we came up with another form, that is this one. So yeah, so the neck, we had two parts now, and I kept the neck part inside so that the movement of the swan can be seen as well as the elegance with the curves. And but what was the problem with this was the neck was too bent so that it can be understood it was a swan. So we have to abstract it. That was the whole idea of the assignment. And we chopped off the neck and we came up with this model. So the curves shows the elegance, and we have chopped neck, and which also is very curved. It has a curvy nature. And then we gave a hinge here, like we gave a nut here. So we connected it here. And that also added up to the form, to be honest. Like it showed the movement, it enhanced the movement, and also it was going well with the form itself. So the cardboard model of the final one, and abstracting further by chopping the hair. And then we did the laser cutting. So we had this 3 mm hard cardboards, and then we did laser cutting, and then we got these pieces um, separately. So after that, we assemble the laser cut parts using ball washers and nuts with a pre-decided space in between them. So where we face the problem of what will be the space that will be given inside. So we gave one nut space here in between neck and the body, and two nut space in between the swan. So what happened is that, and we stick this part. So what happened is that even the spaces is having a constant flow. So that also adds up to the adds to the elegance. So we did our assembly part as such, and then the circular pieces were attached to these two sides at the head and the tail of the bowl, and then it hided the screw which we used, and also it added up to the form. So that was our assignment for abstraction of animals. And yeah, these are the final pictures I took with um, this final abstract form, and it was how it went with the from small uh, paper paper scratch work to the big final form abstraction. Yeah, thank you.
Very good. I think the breakthrough, the what was your, what is your sentence for this? What do you call it? The main attribute.
It was the gracefulness and the elegance of this one.
So in sentence, you can call it graceful swan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that, you like really targeted. So and it has that above grace, right? That coolness, that calmness, that gracefulness is there, and feels as if it's gliding through the waters. So very good, excellent. And all of you did notice how, by she had the earlier image. So the earlier image, she had this whole thing like the swan, just by chopping off that whole curvature and keeping it straight. The grace is further improved. Look at the first picture, and and then it's become more abstract, and that abstractness is actually helping it to take it away from the swanness as much as we can. So, how much do we give this percentage according to you? Is it 30% swan or 50% swan?
It's like 35 or yeah.
What about you? What do you feel? 30%. Okay, good. I think if you have it 30 to 10, it's quite nice. So all the best.
The next assignment was the abstraction of an animal. So we started by making a low poly model from paper of the animal. I chose giraffe, and I had to analyze the form of a giraffe. So a giraffe is basically, it's tall, tawny, with long legs and long neck. So I had to focus on how what part of giraffe, what element of giraffe I wanted to capture. So by doing this assignment, I had a better understanding of how it got converted from 2D to 3D. We took templates and folded them to make into a 3D form, and how organic structure of the giraffe, the curves of the giraffe were converting into a geometric part. Of we I could understand the volume of the giraffe, the proportion of the giraffe, like how the body, how the lens are proportionate to the neck, the face, the ears and the eyes, and the tail at the back, and the whole volume. So by doing this assignment, I understood the proportions of the animal and converting it into, simplifying it more, and yet containing the emotion that the giraffe has to express. I started by making some rough sketches to understand the important lines, the important forms and shapes that the giraffe should capture. So the main thing was it should be towering, slender, and lofty. We started by making quick paper models. This was the most fun part, because we didn't have to waste time thinking, but we had to actually start implementing on what we were doing. Sir just told us to take bits of paper and put whatever we were thinking into action. And I think that was the best part of doing this first course, was to understand whatever we want to communicate. We had to communicate it through different types of forms, where we understood it. Even I started by making this paper model by just 3 bits of papers and attaching them together, how just attaching them with minimal effort, and trying to convert a complex structure into a very minimal form, which still represents what the giraffe stands for, like elongated and tallness. Then so initially I started with 4 legs, but I didn't feel that it was necessary. Even 2 legs conveyed what I was trying to say. So the whole concept of abstraction was to take as minimal effort and lower the percentage of the exactness and the originalness of the animal, and just to bring out the emotion that we intend to. I also explored the wire material. I initially planned to have planes, like here, circular discs that I wanted to show the long neck of the neck. But I understood by doing this that the wire is not working for my form. What I want to express, the sleekness, the wire was not supporting and enhancing that. So I had to skip that, and I switched to cardboards. So these are the different forms that I tried from cardboard. We can see here that even changing the tilt, changing the angle, having a little cut here makes a huge difference. It changes the whole when we look at the form together, it changes the whole aspect of the form. So I started by making cardboard models, and this was the piece that I ended up concluding on. I understood that even if you see the difference between two, they're almost the same. But by making the small cut, I enhanced the reaching out element that the giraffe is supposed to express. Then we switched to the final model where we had to laser cut, and we made laser cut drawings, and this is the establishment final. After all this, the main thing I want to convey was the reaching out of the giraffe. The model is I have kept it sleek with less volume, and there are minimal joints that are not protruding outwards. It's very plain and sleek from the outside, and it's very slender also. So it horizontally, it's not that wide, so it enhances the fact of the height. We can focus on the height and the stretching out, and I have kept the edges sharp because blunting them will reduce the stretching out part that I wanted to express. We were also taught about how there are different, we can take a small element and have different behaviors to it. Like a same element can be shown as hard or soft. So by reducing the amount of curves, having some straight lines, minimal curves, less organic structures, and more sharp joints, I try to bring this form together. And also, while making the model, I understood how I had to focus on how it will stand. I had to understand the center of mass. If the height was there, I had to understand how much broadness I should keep so it balances and doesn't fall forward.
This is animal abstract form. So using templates from a website called Super Coloring, we had to create paper crafts animals, but in geometric abstraction. So while creating each animal, it had an highlighted emotion in itself. And even if it was geometrically abstract, the shape and the form of the animal was distinct enough to make out what the emotion was. So the most challenging part was to figure out the complex folds and the order of them to minimize the structural complexity while joining the paper crafts and its parts. So I chose bull as my abstract animal, and his nature and emotion was of a charging and furious one. So his horns were horizontal, not in a vertical way, showing elegance. So this is my animal that I created from geometric abstraction. Further moving into process, so animal abstraction, we had to create a fully abstract depicting only emotion in it. So further taking my bull into abstraction, I created the emotion of furious attack by his horns, and these are my first paper doodles, you can say, which I created while depicting the emotion. So as you can see, my horns are in horizontal position to depict the furious nature of the horns and the attacking style of the bull. So these are actually the steps from which I have gone. So first one was the paper doodle, which was actually very small in size. So this is my first doodle about my bull. So as you can see, it is really small right now, and it needed a lot of improvement due to the bullness that you can see it has still in it. So furthermore, moving into process, I created the larger form of it, which is like minimizing the elements which I had added in the paper doodle. The horns were slightly tilted downwards to show more furiousness, but further moving into process, I figured out that the horizontal one would depict like a moderate amount and the bullness would be reduced down. So after this, we had to do laser cutting in MDF sheet and had to do an structure from it. So the main complexity behind doing this was we had to only use plates and we had to intersect them. We can't fold them. So this was the first laser cutting that I did, and as you can see, the behind elements are a little smaller. Then the horns are a little tilted inward. So this was the first. Actually, it was an first experiment doing how we can depict more furiousness in this bull. So further moving into process, I did this by increasing the behind elements. It shows like it's attacking forward, the furiousness towards forward, and the horns were a little tilted inwards to show the straightness of them. So these were my explorations for the course.
Then the paper animal formed. So this was the process. Like first we had to choose an animal. So I chose lion. Then we had to choose an attribute of the animal. So I chose the pride. So the lion's pride. We got our templates of the animals from a website called Super Coloring, and we downloaded the templates. We printed them out on TK sheets, and we just cutted them out individually, and then we tried to stick them together to form the animals. So basically, this faceted form of animals, it was highlighting its attributes more than the actual form of the animal itself. So one thing which I found very interesting was we had our individual, all the templates in our hands, and we were just wondering like how it will come out eventually. So also, as you can see, we can see a very interesting form inside the animal. So this was my final faceted form of lion. Again, learnings and difficulties in the process. So the first thing was I had to choose posture of the lion which shows its pride. Then it was more difficult to stick the folded pieces of paper than just a normal piece of paper. Then we had to maintain the neatness of the whole model, because that's the most basic and I think the most toughest aspect of any model making. Then comes the animal abstraction. So this is just the second part after the paper animal abstraction. So we had to use the same attribute of the animal, but it was to be depicted in a more abstract form. That in this one, we had to make it in such a way that the animal should be visible the least. Then we made, so the process was first we made quick explorations in paper, then in cardboard, and then we finally 3D laser cutted it on the MDF sheets, and we just pasted them together. So these were the first quick explorations in the paper. The one on the extreme left was my first exploration. So we had to use plates for creating the abstract form. So I tried to arrange them in various interlockings. In the second one, I used a spine, and then I tried to connect them together. And this was the third one. Then comes the exploration in cardboard, where I tried to create a kind of confusion that for some people, this form looks like a leg, but for some people, it's the lion's fur. So these are the final 3D laser cutted form of MDF sheets, and we just made out of it. Then this time the lion's pride was not to be just depicted by its form, but it was not by its only the posture, but it was also we had to show it in its form. So the attributes that was to be conveyed in such a way that, as I already said, that it should be visible, the animal should be least visible. Then we just learned that the changing the material for the mockups also required us to change its joinery and its joining medium. As you can see, for building the cardboards, I need to use paper tapes, I used stapler pins, I used Fevicol, I used everything, ranging from foam to thermocol.
And later we did the animal abstraction assignment. So we were used to asked to create an abstract image, which we did by using like template we downloaded from an website, and to create a form. So here I took like a deer as an animal, and so the main attributes which I taken was elegant, and here the material we used was TK sheets, and even in the form, this particular form of, which is usually mainly of straight lines, the curvature and the emotions of the deer are still visible in the form, and later making it more abstract. So here I still, for this I took the attributes like as gracefully, elegance, calm, modest, etc. And these were my some of the exploration, and trying out with line justice helped me more with the assignment for further progress. And after picking a element and tried to make it a paper model. So these are my two other paper models, and we later made into a cardboard model. So this was my final product after picking the paper model into a cardboard model. So here we took like laser cutting machines to cutting using cardboard sheets and to make into like a final model. So while making it in a cardboard, we learned more about like how to place things, like how to join things. Like here, I took the same material, cardboard, to make slits, to place it and join together. So this was my final assignment.
Yeah, then comes animal forms. Here I chose the animal snake, which had two properties, from my opinion, which was the ferociousness of that animal and the slithering movement of that animal. So what I took was ferociousness, and I made this paper model. Here, the hood of the snake literally depicts the ferociousness. Compared to its body, the hood is very big, and this is not normal in a snake. Okay, so this is what was highlighted in this form. Then for the final moment, for the final sculpture, what I did was I took the slithering movement of the snake, and with wires, I did some doodling and was trying to find what would be the perfect sculpture for it. Okay, so the first two were depicted ferociousness, and the other two depicted slithering movement of the snake. So slithering was kind of elegance and all that shit. So all that thing. So I chose the slithering movement, and then I made this cardboard model, which is kind of abstract, and I did this. Yeah. So yeah, these are the rough sketches I made for the abstract animal, for the snake. So it was kind of a lot of doodling and thinking. And then yeah, these are the cardboard models you can see over here. Again, I chose the slithering movement, you can see over there. And we used MDF sheets, which were kind of hard, and it were 3 mm. Okay, so we used that. We did laser cutting and used it. Then, yeah, the other task for me was how am I gonna show the angles and the joining of the two plates? Okay, so here what I did, I used small copper wire. Okay, you can see over here. I used Fevikwik and I used it and gave this flat looking slab into a 3D angle and elevation. And I made that sculpture. Yeah, this is the final one. This is the top view of the snake, and this is the side view. From top view, we can see it's kind of plain. It looks like it's in one plane. But when you see from the side, you can see there's a little bit of inclination and angle to each and every plate.
Then there was the animal abstraction form. In this case, the same attribute of animal was to be depicted in abstract form. The quick paper exploration was done first. Here you can see it. Then we had to do it in the cardboard. Then the MDF plates were chosen for creating the final abstract animal. So the next exploration in paper I did was using wire and paper, as you can see in the extreme left. Then it went on the cardboard thing, as you can see others. Then I did the final one. It's here. Yeah. So this was my final one, the final product. It's like this. So it just shows the leaping motion of a dolphin without actually showing anything a dolphin resembles by.